So for those of you who have been here, welcome back. And for people who are now just coming here for the first time, this is about Performer Lite, which is a program that we're excited to release recently. And it's really a fun program to use. And then we're going to talk about how to build a track. I'm going to play something for you today. Okay, so I'm going to switch over here to screen share. Okay, so I've got Performer Lite running. I'm going to play something I built, and then what we're going to do is basically dissect it, and we're going to start over from scratch. And we'll rebuild the project. And in the process, we'll kind of talk about the sounds, the workflow, plugins, mixing, all those different aspects. So I'm just going to play down the cue, and we'll check it out. It's just a 1-minute piece. Cool. So that's the groove today, kind of a Latin feel. So let's do this. This is something that we build. We can actually build this pretty quickly. Hopefully I'm kind of warmed up a little bit. So let's actually close the project, and let's build a new one from scratch. So I'm in the welcome window, and I'm just going to choose an empty project, and we'll put it on the desktop, and we'll just call this Latin Groove 2. Okay, cool. So this is just an empty Performer Lite project. You can see I'm in the main window here, which is called the sequence editor. And let's start with adding an instrument. So the first thing I'm going to do is add instrument with options. Now I want to start with the piano. That seems like a good primary instrument to build off of. So I'm going to use all the sounds we're going to do today are going to be built-in sounds that come with Performer Lite. So let's go into MOTU. I want to use this cool sampler we make called nanosampler. And believe it or not, nanosampler has a very cool piano. So let's see what it sounds like. So let me actually fix my outputs real quick. Let's do that under Studio, Bundles. Bundles are my inputs and outputs. I'm going to fix my outputs to make sure that they're going to the right spot to hear them. So if you have a MOTU M series interface or a Samsung mic or any other MOTU interface, you want to make sure that under Setup, Configure Audio System, your hardware driver, that you've selected your MOTU interface inside Performer Lite. So I'm running this 1248, which is a MOTU Thunderbolt interface, and I'm running my buffer at 128, which is pretty low. That way there's very low latency when I'm playing instruments. So I've set that up under Setup. So now I'm ready to play this instrument. So what do we have here? Some kind of a baby grand. Now what I love about this instrument is it's got a ton of personality. It's very muted sounding. It almost sounds like a piano, like some kind of an upright piano in a lounge or something. And I love it. It's not this full-featured grand piano. It's just got a lot of character. I think it'll work perfect as this sort of foundation for this Latin groove. So I've got, you can see here, my MIDI track, and it's armed. And I've got my nanosampler in here, and I've got the sound loaded in here. So let's do this. On the left, I'm going to bring up the channel strip, make sure my volume is nice and loud so I can hear it. And what I'm going to do at the top is I'll need a little bit of a count off. Believe it or not, we're going to stay at 120 beats per minute. But if I needed to change the tempo, I could just type in the value if I wanted to be faster or slower. But believe it or not, 120 is the tempo, and we're in 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn on the metronome. And we've got a 2-bar click. And I think we can make it 1 bar. It's fine, because I don't want to have to wait for 2 full bars. So I'll just double click on the 2-bar count off. We'll just make this a 1-bar count off. Okay, So now what we're going to do is lay down a quick piano part. So let's do that. I'm going to turn on the click, turn on the count off, and now once I put it in record, which is up here, actually we don't need clips record. We'll talk about that at some point where you're able to record your clips back into the timeline. So let's see here. What am I playing here? We're playing this. Okay, cool. Let's try it. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, not too shabby. So now we've got our MIDI part in here, and you can see we can change the view of the size of the track. So here's my performance. We can take it out of record. Now if I want to edit the part, I want to change some parts, some mistakes, or change some notes, I just have to double click on it, which brings up the clip editor. So what I'm going to do is, I think I was pretty close timing wise, but I'm going to make sure that it's very rigid, right on the grid. So I'm simply going to come in here and select all, Command A. And I'm going to go up to region and quantize this. So let's quantize this to eighth notes, da 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 da. So we'll just go ahead and put that right on the grid. Cool, so let's check it out. Let's just make sure that it's accurate. I'll take off the count off, the count off. And let's listen to it with the click for a few bars. Yeah, I think it's going to be fine. Okay, so before I even add a bass part or anything, I'd like to add some kind of a syncopated rhythm. So let's maybe add a cowbell part that we'll add as a layer. Cool, so let's do that. We'll rewind back to the beginning, and let's add another instrument. This time we'll go into Instrument with Options. Now MOTU provides this cool plugin called Model 12, which is a drum module. And it comes with Performer Lite. So let's check it out. So MOTU, and we'll go down to Model 12, and let's add it. Okay, here it comes. So now we've got a whole menu of different kits, drum kits, percussion kits, 808s, electronic elements. And what cool thing about Model 12 is I can drag and drop my own samples. But there's a lot of great stuff that comes with it. So I'm actually going to choose More Cowbell, which I love the title of that one. Okay, so let's check it out. I know it's kind of mapped in the lower register of the keyboard. So remember, whatever keyboard controller you've got connected to your computer, whether it's some kind of a USB controller, you can use that to actually play your notes into Performer Lite. So I've got this rolling piano over here. That's my MIDI input. So let's see, where are we? Okay, cool. So we're going to turn that down just a little bit. So let's highlight the track and pull down. We've got the channel strip selected on the left, so we'll pull this down quite a bit. So what I think I'm going to do is, what's my rhythm here? Boo, da, gum, doom. Think of it as sort of like somebody's playing almost like timbales, and that kind of a groove. So let's try it here. I think it's going to be something like boo, da, go, 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 something like that. So let's try it. So we're going to save. We're at the beginning. We're going to turn on the count off, and let's try it. Okay. 2. I think I want to play D. So try it one more time. 2, 3, 4. That's all I'm going to do, because now we can actually use the loop tool with clips, which is a cool feature. So let's rewind to the beginning, save. I think I'm going to change the color of this too, something a little easier to look at. And let's actually change the view a little bit, make it a little larger. Okay, cool. So let's quantize it, make sure it's perfect. Double click. Here are the notes that I played. Here's the upper bell. Here are the lower cowbells. I'll select all, and under region, we'll go ahead and quantize these. Eighth notes is fine. In fact, I think I'll quantize them not only to eighth notes, but I'll quantize their durations. Make sure that they're actually eighth notes in length. So I'll go ahead and apply that. Cool, that'll be just fine. So now, what's cool about Performer Lite is I can just go up to this piece of audio, or this piece of MIDI clip rather, and you'll notice I can just drag this out. So let's do that. I want this to go all the way to the end. And we're going to save that. Cool. So we've got this foundational groove happening, and I'm going to tuck it in so it's nice and low, but it's just a nice layer. Okay, so next up is bass. Let's add a bass part. With a Latin groove like this, it'll be nice to have some kind of an upright bass. That'll be cool. So let's try that. So let's add another instrument. So over here in the track selector view, I think I'll hide the conductor. I don't really need to see the virtual instruments. I just want to focus on, and let me name these tracks too. So this is piano, and this is bass, or this is, excuse me, cowbells. Okay, cool, cowbells. Cool, so we've got two parts going. So now, of course, bass will be nice, and then we'll build a couple more tracks off of it. So how am I doing so far? We've got our mixing board. Let's just check in on the mixer. I've got the cowbell kind of tucked in a little bit. We've got a master fader, which is cool. Everything will go through the master. So I think I'll move the master on this side. I'm going to put my virtual instruments on this side. So I've got my piano. I've got my cowbells. We can take it out of record. Next up is the bass, so let's do that. Instrument with options. And this time we're going to use the UVI Workstation. Now this is something that comes with Performer Lite. And you do get a nice sound bank. And there's a really nice happening upright that we're going to use today for that example. So let's do it. We're going to add one UVI Workstation stereo. And actually we're going to use quite a few of these. I think the next few parts, I think I'm going to add a string part. I want to add a horn line. So let's maybe add 5 different MIDI tracks. So one instance. Now one instance will let me have up to actually 16 parts if I want. So we'll just have 5. Okay, here they are. And this one's in record. And this is the bass. And we'll actually option click and name it bass. And maybe the color for this will be some kind of a green color. Now we actually look for the sounds. So we're inside UVI Workstation, and we're going to go over to multi-view. And if I double click, I've got part 1, it's empty. So let me add a couple more parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, double click. And I'm going to go down to the MOTU instruments. And here's the bass category. Let's just do an acoustic bass. Double click. And we're ready to go. So let's just rehearse it, make sure we're in the right kind of octave register. So let's see. Yeah, it's going to be cool. It's just a little hot, so we'll pull down the channel a little bit. So this will be fun to kind of lay down, I think. It's always fun to lay down a bass part. So let's do it. Got my count off, and my click is turned on. Cool. 2, 3. Go, save. So that's fine. We'll make it really nice and tight. We'll double click on it and let's quantize it. I just want it to be very tight and precise. So, and yeah, 1/8 notes is good. I'll let the releases be natural. Sometimes I've held the notes a little longer on purpose. So I think we're in good shape. I think my bells are still a little hot. Let's just tuck those in a little bit. So let's actually resize some of these tracks. Holding option, I'm going to resize these tracks so I can really see them all in one shot. So wow, we've got a bass, we've got cowbells, we've got a piano. We're starting to really build the track. I think next up, you know, it'd be nice to have congas. I think congas are going to be very cool in this. So let's do that. In fact, let's go back into Workstation. And let's see, where are we? We're on channel 1. Channel 2, yeah, that's next up. We've got to put some cool percussion in there to kind of get some rhythm happening here. Okay, so we're going to double click on part 2. Now this is cool. We're going to actually use the loops. There's a cool one I found here in the loop category, so let's check it out. We're going to go to loops. And by the way, up here on part 2, I'm going to pull the volume down just a hair. Cool. And we're going to go into percussion, congas. Let's check out a few of these. So what's cool is as I choose these, they're going to play right along. So let's hear it. 2, 3, 4. Turn it down a little more. Okay, so I've selected it. This is conga 7. Now, I was a little tucked in, so I'll make sure that we can pull it up a little bit. And I still think my cowbells are kind of going crazy, so we'll tuck those in a little bit more. Okay, so what can we do with the conga? I mean, it's cool that it's playing along. It's in time, it's a loop, but I want more control over it because it's just playing as a loop, but I want to be able to start it and stop it. So what can we do with that? Well, here's what I'm going to do. Switch over to the main view. And here it is. Here's the conga part. Now I can look at all my parts. There's the bass. Here's the conga part. There's the actual loop. Now check this out. We're going to rewind back to bar 1. Now look on the very far right corner. Drag and drop. This is a very cool feature that comes inside the UVI Workstation. I can just take this conga groove and just drag it in. I'm just going to drag it to the left side. Let go. There it is. There's the digital audio. So now I can turn off the loop. I'll just keep the sound in there just in case, but I've got the audio. Save. So what are we going to do with this? It looks like it's just simply a 1-bar phrase. Okay, cool. Let's actually turn this into a clip. This is a cool feature. Watch this. If I highlight it, edit, region, we're going to actually hack into clips. So now I've turned this into a clip. Now watch what I can do with it. I can simply repeat it. I'll go to the top. Now we're just going to pull this out, and this will be kind of grooving the whole way, at least for now, until we kind of tidy up our arrangement. So what does that sound like? We're going to make sure the conga is not too loud. Let's tuck it in and see what we have. 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Pan the congas a little bit to the right. Let's try that. Let's go back to bar 1. We can take the count off. Let's pan them a little bit. Yeah. Put the cowbells on the left a little bit. Okay, cool. All right, so you know what's next up is a live recording. Let's do a live shaker. Been meaning to get my egg shaker in action here, so we're going to do that together. So let's rewind back to the beginning. We're going to save. So I want to add a mono audio track. Cool. So where's my audio track? Let's bring it to the top. I'm going to reorder it, take it all the way up to the top, and we're going to record it. We're going to call this egg shaker. And the egg shaker is going to have a nice sort of pinkish color. We'll make it nice and large so I can really see what's happening here. Now what's interesting is I'm not going to necessarily worry too much about making a perfect performance. What I really want is just a groove, just maybe, you know, a nice couple bars. I'll be able to edit something out of that. So I'm not even going to worry about a count off. I'm just going to roll and get a couple bars of some nice steady shaker, and then I'll be able to quickly edit it. So let's do that. So I've got my metronome. I don't need a count off. So what I need to do now is set my input. So here's the egg shaker, and I'm going to set my input to my microphone. There it is. Check, that's me talking. So let's check the level. Yeah. That microphone is very sensitive, that 414, so I don't even have to play very loud. But it's not going to clip or anything. So I'm ready to go. That's simple. It's plenty. I think I've got something in there that's a keeper. So cool, let's do that. Let's parse out something useful from this. So we're going to save, take it out of record, and let's just trim this up. Let's see what these bars are like. Let's check it out. And I've just done some edge editing, which is based on the position here. I can pull this out, I can trim it. You'll see that I'm snapping to the grid, which is great. And my grid is set up here to quarter notes. So let's see what that's like, see if it's in time. So let's go back to the beginning and check out the shaker. I don't like the first bar very much, so let's pull this out just a little bit. And we can eliminate that first bar. It's kind of a warm-up bar. So let's see if that's better. Yeah, it's fine. It's got a little bit of nuance, a little bit of variation, especially in the second half of the bar. But it's perfect. It'll do just fine. So that's cool. Let's actually turn this into a clip. And then we can repeat it. So let's do that. And cool. I love having the ability to just be able to pull that out and extend it as long as I want. It's so fast. Okay, so now the shaker definitely gets tucked way in as a layer. So let's just see where he would sit. We can take off the metronome. Now, I love the personality of that piano again. It's just got such a muted sort of tone. It just sounds like just an old piano, which I love. And it happens to be a nanosampler, which is interesting. I originally started with the idea of having some really nice grand piano, but then I thought, ooh, I love the sound of that one. Okay, next up is the strings. We got to have a string bed before we lay down our horn part. Cool, so time for the strings. And we've got a good string patch in mind that comes inside Workstation. So let's do that. So where is my Workstation? Here it is. Oh, that's nanosampler. Here it is. So I'm going to double click on it. And there's our conga part that we did the drag and drop. Go back to multi. And let's go to part 3. And this time, let's see, we're in the MOTU sound bank. We're going to go into strings. Where are you? Strings. Orchestra. No. Oh, here we go. Percussion strings. Okay, all strings. So as an entire section, basses, cello, woodwinds, violins, and so on, violas. So it's just a sustained string part. So let's do that. Double click. And I want to make sure it's kind of really reverby and kind of got a very nice pad sort of feel to it. So I've got a reverb on here. I think I'll unmute the reverb, of course. And let's actually make sure it's nice and wet sounding. So this is part 3. I'll save and we'll option click and we'll call this strings. There it is. And strings should be a nice yellow sort of look to it. We'll tuck them in a little bit. Let's hear that reverb. Oh, my bad. I think let's see. Oh, because I'm on the wrong MIDI channel. That would help. Channel 3. Okay, there's our string. I was triggering the conga part. Yeah. It's very loud. It's just going to be this very tucked in, subtle kind of pad thing. Let's see what it sounds like. Yeah, it's going to be cool. Okay, so we've got it. It's ready to go. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm just going to start from the beginning. That way we can just get right to it, and I can easily delete or move the part. So that'll be easy to do. So let's do a count off and a click. And let's make sure we've got our part. Yep, we're right back in business. Okay, here we go. 1, 2. We're in good shape. All I have to do now is just tidy up the string part and we'll be on our way. And I want to add the horn parts. So that's coming up next. All right, so I definitely made some mistakes in the string part. So we're going to fix that. And that's like, I'll fix my typo also. So let's get rid of the extra T in strings and save. Okay, so what do we have here, Mr. Strings? Let's make this larger. I know I made some gaffes here in the string part. Dee da da da. This goes. Let's fix that. Da 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 da. This is a mistake. Going to fix those. We're going to select all. We're going to quantize them. And I do want to change the releases. 1/8 notes. Yeah. And now let's change the velocity. I want these to be very even. I want it to be very tucked in and underneath the whole thing. Let's check it out. So region, change velocity. I want all the notes, believe it or not, to be one level. 65. Save. Let's see what that sounds like. Take off the count off. And of course the metronome. Let's see what we have. Turn them way down. sure. Okay, so we can fix this, no problem. We're going to delete these notes. Dee, da, da. Let's see. So let's, in fact, I'm going to select everybody and let's actually tidy these up a little bit more. I'm going to make them all quarter notes, nice and long quarter notes. And we're going to take this section right here. I'm going to Option drag these notes. Let's see what that's like. I want this to actually be anticipated. Let's do that. Let's zoom in a little bit here. Let me put this here. Let's see what that's like. But yeah, there we go. Save. Yeah. 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's fix this one. And I think we'll be in business. And let's let this cut off all the way to pretty much the downbeat here. Let's just tidy up these lengths a little bit. Save. Okay, cool. We've got our string bed. Perfect. And that's going to be a layer. Now, of course, the big thing with this track is having a horn melody. So that's our next step. We've got a live shaker, bass, piano, we've got strings, we've got kind of a cowbell thing we're laying down. So next up is the horn part. So let's do that. We're going to wind back to beginning, and I want to find these sounds in Workstation. So let's do that. Channel 4. So trumpet. We're definitely going to have trumpet. But what I want to do though is create a stack. You know, think of it like horn players in a section where you'd have a sax player and a trumpet player playing in unison. That would be kind of a cool sound. That way we get the reed of the sax and we get the nice horn, the lip of the horn. And I really like the sounds that come with this instrument. Very usable. So MOTU instruments, brass, trumpet, there it is. That's channel 4. And we'll hit OK. Now I definitely want to turn on the reverb because we want that to sound good. So let's see what this sounds like. Where are we? Channel 3. This is going to be assigned to channel 4. And let's name this track. We're going to call this trumpet. Save. All right. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a layer or a stack with 2 sounds on the same channel. So I'm going to go into part 5 and let's go into sax. I want a soprano sax on channel 4. So as channel 4 gets triggered, 2 sounds are going to play at the same time, a trumpet and a saxophone. So it'll create this kind of cool combined layered sound. Let's check it out. And of course I want the reverb to be available for the saxophone as well. So let's hear what that sounds like. We've been saving as we're going here, and we're on this channel. This is really trumpet slash, I'll just say dash sax. So that means that these channels right here, I don't need these channels. So I'll go ahead and select these and let's get rid of them. Delete tracks. Okay, cool. Let's take an inventory here. What do we have? We have all of our instruments. Let's kind of resize everybody, holding Option. So we've got all the tracks, and we're ready to lay it on our horn part. What color will the horn part be? Kind of a purple color. So let's see what that sounds like. We want to make sure the level's not too crazy, so we'll pull down the fader a little bit. Yeah. So let's just see in the track what that level sounds like. I'm just going to play a few bars of it. Yeah, it's going to be fine. The level's good. So let's just see if we can lay something down here. Okay, cool. So we're going to turn on the click, the count off, and so let's try it. Yeah, it's kind of a bluesy kind of thing. So let's check it out. 2. All right, that felt pretty good. Now I don't want to quantize that. I definitely want there to be feel, and I'm doing like little slurs and kind of slides and things to kind of give it some vibe. So I feel like we can kind of leave that alone. So we'll take it out of record. I think the level's pretty good actually. So let's back up to the beginning. So now we might think we've got all the parts. So I'm not sure that everybody would always play at the same time. So this is where we can actually kind of start playing with the arrangement a little bit. So let's do that. Let's zoom and see the whole piece. So here's everything. And so the strings actually stop here. Let's just listen to the strings at bar 21. Take the count off. Cool. All right. So we've got the piece. We've got all the layers, the pianos, the basses, percussion, live elements, different things. Now it would be cool to actually not have everybody start at the beginning. Let's create a little bit more of an arrangement, and we'll make a mix together. We'll actually bounce it out. Okay, so first and foremost, I feel like now, I'm in that stage where I want to start playing with a little bit of effects. Okay, I think the instruments themselves are actually okay, reverb-wise, but I want to actually do a little bit of kind of mastering and mixing as I go. So let's go into the mixer. And we've got our master, which is the yellow track here. We'll put it on the very far end, and we'll put all my instruments on the right here. That way I can just kind of see them together. Here's the egg shaker, the piano parts. Here are my instruments. Here's the master. And so what about maybe adding some kind of a master effect? So let's do that. Let's see, mastering. Let's do some kind of an EQ. Okay. Multi-comp. Yeah, let's try the multi-comp. So what do we have here? We've got some kind of EQ, adding a little bit of brightness. Maybe that's a little too much brightness. And I'm taking off a little bit of the upper mids, kind of bring back a little bit of the mids. It's cool that we have some effects that get us started here for doing mastering, or we've got lots of other types of instruments like guitars and drum presets and presets for singers, that kind of thing. So what do we have in the compressor? Oh, this is cool. I've got basically different bands of compression and different frequencies. So if we wanted to listen to what's going on down below, let's just back up to bar 10. That's cool. We're isolating just everything below 210 hertz if we wanted to tighten up the bottom end a little bit, which is cool. And so what do we have here? Let's just see how much compression we have. You'll notice that in the middle, this red will indicate how much gain reduction is happening. So we don't want to slam it. We just want a little bit of compression to make it a little more even sounding. Let's check it out. Very subtle. Just a little tightening there. And of course the limiter is the last stage that's going to let us have a nice hot signal without clipping. So if I make a disc, some kind of a mix on an MP3, or I'm going to post it on a streaming service or YouTube or something, I want to make sure that the level's nice and hot, but it's not clipping. So that's what this is all about. So this looks good actually. It's set below clipping. And I noticed that it seems a little bit bright, so I think my shaker's maybe still a little bit hot. So let's just do a little bit of critical mixing here for a minute. And sometimes when you're mixing, it's nice to pull the level way down. You can hear things differently. So let's do that. Let's bring it down. Shaker's a little hot. Horns are a little hot, maybe. Save. Yeah, I think that the mixing is starting to happen. So I think we're okay when it comes to effects. I've done some panning. We could really get into doing some automation, but let's actually spend the time getting the arrangement right. So let's go back to the main window. And why don't we start with, and it's always kind of cool, I had it starting with the piano, which I think is a cool way to do it. So I'm just going to select everybody, and I'm going to use the arrow keys to move everybody over. Let's see, let's go all the way through 8 bars. So nobody's starting until bar 9. But what I'll do is I'll take this piano part and I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it here. So the piano is going to start. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah. Some kind of conga fill maybe in there. Let's try that. So we've got our congas. Where are Mr. Congas? Here he is down below. So let's just select some of the, actually, you know what we could do is just pull back the clip. I forgot about that. Let's do that. So he's going to come in around bar, let's make him around bar 4. Cool. And then, of course, right after he finishes his fill, then maybe the cowbell starts coming in, which I think could be kind of cool. So let's try it. Pull this out to around bar 5. And then maybe Mr. Shaker starts around bar 7. But I definitely wanted to have everybody cut off right before the start of the tune. So it's kind of a dramatic pause. But let's see what we have right now. Actually, I think the congas can come in even earlier. Da 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 da. Come in. Let's try it. Yeah. Cowbell. Yeah. Then I want to stop there and then pause. Ba-da, and the whole band kicks in there. And that would be kind of a fun thing to try. So this should be pretty easy, I think. What we're going to do is just, I'm going to hold the control key, and we're just going to highlight that whole bar, and I'm just going to hit delete. Bye-bye. So let's see what that sounds like. We'll back up to bar 5-ish. Let's hear it. Da, da, da. It's kind of neat. Actually, I almost wanted to have the downbeat of the piano, so let's just see what that's like. Da 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 da. And maybe we pull the shaker out for at least part of that. Let's just, the downbeat. Let's see. Oh, I don't want that though. Yeah, let's actually remove that. Da 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 da. Yeah, actually, no, that's cool. Now remember, we wanted the strings to maybe hang out at the beginning, so that, you know, because there's plenty of room for that to come back. So let's just highlight the strings for the very first section. Actually, the first 2 sections, the strings can just be out. So let's just do that. In fact, you know what? Yeah, we'll just say goodbye, save. So that way it has a cleaner start. Let's see. That'd be interesting to do. So now, okay, so we're going to play through the piece, and now we're going to actually kind of end the song. Let's end it kind of on the, I had this E flat major 7 chord. Let's end on that nice major chord here. I think it's at bar 25. Let's hear it. Yeah, that'll be cool. We'll end it on that chord. So let's do that. I'm going to highlight this bar, copy. We're going to paste it out here, and let's just edit it a little bit. So I'm going to use the editor to clean it up. We can actually remove those notes, and I'm just going to slide these notes over, save. So we're going to end on that nice chord, and then it would be nice to have a bass underneath that. So let's see what we have. Let's now move it into position. I'm going to use the arrow keys to nudge it over. We don't want to keep that little artifact. Save. Let's find that little extra note. Doom. We don't want that. So let's just have this start. Although, you know what? Let's just see what happens if it's a little later. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Save. Okay, so, but maybe we have an upright bass as well. So why don't we just actually, I'll just overdub the bass. So how do we do that? Let's talk about overdubbing it. Let's put it in record. And so, you know, I'm just going to punch myself in. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're going to make our mix now. It's time to bounce it so I can send it off. So what do we have to do? I just have to select all. Command A, selected every track. I don't have to worry about the virtual instruments, just the MIDI tracks, the audio tracks. We're going to go to File. We're going to bounce to disk. Bounce to disk. And let's actually bring it back into the project. We're going to add it to the sequence as a broadcast wave file. A broadcast wave file is going to be great on a Mac or PC. It's the best audio quality. Now I could also make it a quick MP3. I could make it an AIFF file. I could even make it a movie if I had film in there. If I had some kind of a movie window in there, I could also bounce it as a movie. So we're just going to leave it as a WAV file. An interleave file means that the left and right sides of the mix are combined as one file. It's not two separate files. Okay, so here it is, Latin Groove 2 mix. So let's go for it. Watch how fast it'll make my mix. There it is. Save. So let's solo at the top here. I'm going to click on the S, and we're going to solo the actual mix. Now, I'm going to go to the mixing board. I want to make sure that the effects that are in the master are not also being heard. I don't want to hear them twice. So what I'm going to do is just bypass them by holding Option and clicking on the top. It bypasses all the effects. Now I can hear the audio by itself with no additional effects. So we'll go back to the sequence view and let's check out a couple bars of this. Cool. So there it is. So now I could just, I've already the mix already lives on my hard drive, so we could actually send it to somebody. Let me actually just hide Performer Lite. And here's my project. Here's my bounces. There's the mix. And I could send it off to somebody. It's ready to go. Cool. So that's building a track in Performer Lite. It's fun. It's cool. It's easy. And a lot of great sounds. All the sounds came from within the program. We'll leave you with that. So again, let us know if you have any questions. Reach out to our tech support, and you're welcome to come back next Monday. Okay, thank you for being here.